Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. Coming up this week, we're going to introduce you a little bit better to our team, something I neglected to do in weeks past. We're also going to talk about construction at the Disneyland Resort and what you can expect in the weeks and months to come. And we're going to tell you all about our recent VIP tour of the Disneyland Resort. All that coming up next. From the Bob Varley Studio in Orlando, Florida, and from points around Southern California, this is the Disneyland edition of the DIS Unplugged. This is the DIS Unplugged, episode 736 for the week of July 16th, 2018. The DIS Unplugged is brought to you by Dreams Unlimited Travel, experts at helping you plan the perfect Disneyland vacation. Let the Disneyland experts at Dreams help you plan every aspect of your next Disneyland visit, all at no additional charge. Visit them on the web at www.dreamsunlimitedtravel.com. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the show, coming to you from the Bob Varley Studio in Orlando, Florida. I'm your host, Pete Werner, joined this week by my good friend and co-host, Mr. RYNO CLAVIN.
Hello.
Out in California, the lovely and talented Ms. Katrina Manzoni.
Hi, everybody.
And right next to her, the lovely and talented Mr. Tyler Crouch.
Hi, how you doing?
And welcoming for the first time to our show,
LOUREOLA.
I knew that. I knew that. But I do this all the time where names escape me. The lovely and talented LOUELLA LOUREOLA. How are you, LOUELLA?
Hi, everyone.
So, welcome to the show, folks. Hope your week is off to a good start. Have a lot of things we want to talk about this week. The first of which, it dawned on me earlier that, we kind of rebooted this show a few weeks back. And while you may have seen Tyler and Katrina in some vlogs and things that we've done over the past year, they've never really had a proper opportunity to kind of introduce themselves and let you kind of get to know more about them. And since this is LOUELLA's first time on our show, I think, it was kind of a good idea. I mean, you already know me, and I'm assuming, and you already know RYNO. If you don't, then that's okay. But our folks out in California thought it would be a good idea, kind of just for a few minutes, talk to them and get to know them a little bit better. So, LOUELLA, I'm going to start with you since your beautiful face is right in front of me right now. Why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself and tell us a little bit about your history with Disneyland?
Okay, hi. I'm LOUELLA LOUREOLA, and I'm married into that, so my parents didn't do that tongue twister to me. And I wasn't born here. I was born in the Philippines, but my parents immigrated while I was really young to Southern California. And so I would say pretty much I was raised in Southern California and raised in Disneyland. And the great thing about being so close is I have all these wonderful pictures of me as a wee little baby with my mom and dad. And I obviously cannot remember it, but it just, whenever I see them, it really resonates with me, really brings me home. And I think my first memory of actually going to the park, I'm probably about 6 or 7, but we would go every year. It would be a family trip even if we were close by, because I don't think annual passports were available back then, and it wasn't something that a lot of people do now. It was more of an event, but we would go every year, and at the same time during school, at the end of the year, we would go as a class. So it was something that was really a part of our culture. And so that's kind of how my love of Disney and Disneyland began. And then as I got older, everyone in high school got a job there as soon as you could work. And then when I went to college, we continued working through college. And so I can't imagine my life without it. And my love of Disney has grown into truly the history of Disney. I'm fascinated by the Walt Disney and how it started. And the great thing about being so close to Southern California is I'm not that far from the studios. So had the blessings of going there, had the blessings of going to the Tam O'Shanter and Griffith Park and just seeing where everything began. So it's started out with just going to Disneyland and growing into just a big love of just Disney overall. And I'm a mother with 3 boys. One is 16, so I got that teenager. I have a 10-year-old who's on the spectrum, and then I have a 7-year-old who is just the most hyper little boy ever. But they all love going to Disneyland, and I love going with my husband alone, but I love going with my kids. So
awesome.
Me.
Well, I am absolutely thrilled to have you as part of the show. We've known each other for a few years. We met, I think the first time I met you was the 50th anniversary.
Yes.
I think we were waiting for the parade, and that was the first time I had a chance to meet you.
Yeah, that was those were good times. That 50th anniversary, 60th, excuse me.
60th. That's correct. That's correct. Yes. I always get that confused. I was there. Yeah, we were there for the 60th, and that was the first time I had a chance to meet you. And then we've met since then, and I am absolutely delighted that you were able to join us and do this. So
thank you.
Looking forward to a lot more shows with you. All right, let's move over to Katrina. Katrina, now those of you who have maybe watched the amazing video that RYNO put together for us earlier this month, or earlier last month, I should say, What We Love About Disneyland. Katrina was featured in that. If you haven't seen that, we'll make sure there's a link in the show notes. So who's ever doing the show notes, Tyler, I think that's you. We'll make sure we include a link to that video so you can see more about it. But for those who haven't seen it, Katrina, why don't you tell us a little bit about you and about your history with Disneyland?
Sure. So in the video, I kind of talked about it, but I'm going to go again because I really love explaining it. But for you, my name is Katrina Manzoni. So I grew up in Southern California, and I moved away to Oregon when I was a teenager. But when I lived in Southern California, I would always go to Griffith Park with my dad because he would work in like Los Feliz area. So he would take me like on the carousel, and I fell in love with it. And kind of like how Walt Disney took his kids to Griffith Park and just sat on the bench and watched the kids on the carousel. And I would always go to Disneyland with my parents and my brother, and I would always just love going to the castle. And it was kind of like my playground. Like I would just go and pretend like I was a princess, like hanging out with Aurora. And I would always just like love it and like think about just, I don't know, just finding like Prince Charming, like little girly things, and just watching the parade. I think the Main Street Electrical Parade was like my favorite part when I grew up. Like I would love going in the summer, just sitting there and just watching Cinderella stroll by. And then I moved away to Oregon, and it kind of like made me feel like really sad because I couldn't get to Disneyland all that often. So I would live like vicariously through like podcasts and just videos and just like reliving Disney. And so when I grew up, I had to come back down here to Southern California and live here. And then I met Tyler, and then he had a great love for Disney, and then that's kind of how it became to be. And he started doing vlogs, and I kind of got into it. It's a little daunting, actually. It's kind of scary, but it's nerve-wracking, Anyway, so that's kind of how it became to be, and I still love going today. Every time I go to Disneyland, it's like a new adventure to kind of like see what's new and kind of like create my own new memories with Tyler and like kind of relive my past going to Disneyland. Yeah.
Awesome.
I don't know what else to say. I love it.
Awesome. And what about you, Tyler? Why don't you tell everybody a little bit more about you?
Yeah, so I grew up in Southern California. We're actually in the same house right now that my family bought before I was even born. So I've been here my entire life, and we have gone to Disneyland my entire life. I can't even remember the first time I went, which, because it's just like, it was just a part of everything we did. And it especially, my dad unfortunately passed away about 5 years ago, and it especially just reminds me of all the fun that I had with him when I go to Disneyland. Every time I'm there, I just remember all these little stories about him, and it definitely is like a happy place for me. It's good to remember those types of stories. I mean, he used to take me every other spring break, and we would go to Disneyland Hotel and stay there for a few nights, and it was just those trips were like incredible. And so it's just really, Disneyland is just like a real remembrance of happiness for me. And it's just, I ended up also working there for close to a year. I was in custodial, and I'm just the type of guy that I love all the behind the scenes stuff and how things work and all those things. So for me, it was like the perfect job being a custodial, because I got to roam around and no matter what, you're able to go anywhere because you're in that white costume. So no matter where you are, people can't be like, hey, what are you doing here? So it was a lot of fun just kind of being like, I feel like maybe I'll go watch Fantasmic for 5 minutes, but Fantasmic is another thing too. That's like, every time I watch that show, I almost tear up a little bit, because I just remember when we were young. They do little VIP experiences now and stuff, but they used to let you sit up on. They had a dessert party where they would let you sit up on the balcony of it was the gallery at the time, but now it's the Disney Dream Suite, and they would let you sit up there, which it was the place where Walt Disney was trying to create an apartment for his family, like a bigger apartment for his family, and they used to let you sit up there, and it was kind of the most magical experience of my life. And so every time I'm at Disneyland, it brings back happiness. So that's me in a nutshell.
And how often, Tyler, would you say you're in the parks? How often do you get down to Disneyland?
I mean, even before we started working for you, Pete, we were there at least once a week. We're there all the time, and now a lot of times it's like twice a week, once or twice a week. Yeah. So we are there on a constant basis. We're always seeing the new things. We're passionate about trying to find out what's going on, and yeah.
I'll tell you both have been a wonderful addition to the team. You bring a lot of passion and excitement for Disneyland, and something that certainly touches my heart, because I also have a passion and excitement for Disneyland, if you haven't guessed. Louella, what about you? How often do you get a chance to get into the parks?
I try to go once a week, sometimes more. It's a different trip when I go with my kids versus when I go with my husband. So it's always different when we go. So I live extremely close. It'll take me more to just get from my car in the parking lot to the tram to the gate. But
wow,
it's and it's easier to get to Disneyland than when I was going to Walt Disney World. It's easier for me to just get from my door to the gate. So it's not that hard. And but at least once a week. And when something is new, a merchandise that I really want, I'll just swing by there just to get it if I can, and then come back home. So when kids say they want to go to the park, that's what they mean. So when I take them to a real park, they're like, "Oh, we said the park."
Yeah, we have the park, not a park.
Like, oh, okay, not the playground, the park. Okay. So yeah, and I really make it an effort to do what my kids want to do when they go, and then when I go on myself, then I can check out some of the other things. So
awesome. All right, well, thank you guys. Like I said, I just wanted to spend a little time kind of introducing you folks, and because I just never thought when we rebooted this, because I know you guys, and sometimes we're too close to something and we don't see the bigger picture. So, well, thank you for that. All right, we're going to move on now, and I think Katrina has some stuff to talk to us about regarding construction updates over at Disneyland. Now, if you're not familiar with what we're talking about, there's going to be, we're not even just talking about Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, which is currently being built out there as well, but they are in the process of getting ready to start building their 4th on-site hotel. And the placement of this hotel is, I don't see any way that it is not going to be very, very disruptive, especially to people staying at the Disneyland Hotel, because they're basically building this right in front of it. They don't have the room there that we have here in Orlando. So to build this 4th hotel,
it's a luxury hotel, right? Is that what they're classifying it as?
They are classifying this. We out here we have the classifications of value, resort, moderate, and deluxe. They really consider, they get upset with me when I call Paradise Pier a value. Paradise and Disneyland hotels would be considered moderate hotels, whereas the Grand Californian is a deluxe hotel. This new hotel they're planning to build, they are classifying as a luxury hotel. And it is, from everything I'm hearing, and these are from pretty decent sources, going to make the prices at the Grand Californian look downright reasonable. So if you think it's expensive to stay at the Grand Californian, it will be even more expensive to stay at this new hotel, which I don't believe has a name yet. If it does, I'm not familiar with it. But we'll, that's a topic for a further show. What could they possibly do to warrant the kind of pricing we're hearing about? But this is more about the construction and the, what we're anticipating is going to happen over the coming weeks and months. And so I'm going to throw it over to you, Miss Manzoni.
Sure. Okay. So now everything is closed down on the end part of downtown Disney. So ESPN Zone's gone, Rainforest Cafe's gone, the Starbucks is gone. There's still one more Starbucks. It's in the beginning, kind of like by the entrances of the park in the middle of downtown Disney. And Tyler's beloved Earl of Sandwich is gone.
Sad.
I know. And so they all had to close by the end of June so they can start construction for the beginning of July. And the downtown Disney parking area is now being taken over by little portable offices, and they're getting ready to tear that parking area completely apart to get ready to break ground for creating this hotel. And the rumors have it was the downtown Disney security entrance that was supposed to be in between ESPN Zone and Rainforest Cafe was supposed to shut down at the beginning of July, but they kept pushing it back. And the last time I heard, it was supposed to start on the 9th, but they still haven't closed it down yet. But the rumor has it they're going to be moving the security off to the other side where the AMC Theater used to be, where that parking lot is by the Grand Californian. I don't remember the name of the parking lot. But
Simba or
no, that's
or just the stealth park
the
for
self
Grand
parking
California.
area for the Grand Californian. That's where the entrance, the security entrance, is supposed to be. But downtown Disney parking will now be rerouted to, I believe, the Simba parking lot behind the Paradise Pier Hotel. So you would definitely have like a longer walk to get to security than before at downtown Disney. And the Lilo and Stitch lot is now kind of in preparations. They're kind of prefabricating like pillars and stuff for the addition to the Mickey and Friends parking structure. So there's a lot of construction going on right now. They're expanding, I don't know if anybody knows, but they're expanding Mickey and Friends parking lot to make it bigger since it's been filling up to capacity recently during the weekends.
That's the parking structure, right?
Yes, that's the parking structure, the main parking structure. So they're adding onto it. So they already have it flattened out and they're starting to build it now. So the downtown Disney parking is now going to be like prefabricating stuff for the hotel and for the parking structure. So hopefully it can speed everything along. But as far as the Disneyland security entrance, I'm not sure if they're going to keep it. I doubt it. I think they're going to get rid of it and make everybody kind of go to the AMC area unless they allow people to go maybe through Grand Californian. I don't know. That's just my idea. It's like a thought.
It just seems like this construction is going to really impact not just like your view, once there's a building there at Disneyland Hotel, but really like the ease of being able to get into the park from your hotel. Seems like it's just becoming more complicated than what was just a straight shot before, right?
Yeah, it's going to be... For Disneyland Hotel, I don't know what it's going to be like, but I feel like if I was new to the area, I would get really frustrated with the whole new security system and where I would have to be since I'm on the other side of the of the resort.
What I've heard is that they are, for Paradise Pier and Disneyland Hotel, they are going to be rerouting them. They are closing down. There's a security entrance between the Disneyland Hotel and the start of downtown Disney They're going to be closing that, and they are going to be making people walk around in order to, however they're going to route that. My bigger concern is that the construction is going to be taking place right in front and around the tower at Disneyland that houses the concierge lounge and the concierge room. So when you're staying concierge at Disneyland, that tower is the one closest to where this construction is going to be taking place. So how disruptive that is, I can only imagine.
Well, I think about like when I was at Pop Century and they were just redoing the rooms that were in the building next to me. They were just redoing rooms, and it was loud. It woke me up. And now I think about or actually, you know what? We stayed out there once when we went for Halloween like 2 years ago when we stayed in the Hilton, and they were doing the construction on the convention center. And what I like to do in California, because it cools down at night, I always, if I'm in a room that has the ability to do it, I like to leave the door open, the sliding door, to get some of the cool air coming in. And I couldn't do it that trip because they were doing the construction like into the hours of the night, and it would start first thing in the morning, and I could hear people yelling back and forth to each other and like slamming on these metal beams, and that was probably the same distance away, I want to say, as I'm imagining this construction taking place to the tower.
I think that construction is going to be a lot closer than that.
Yeah, they're like right on top of each other, definitely.
And
it's going to cause a lot of disruption for sure.
And so what that's going to do, if anything, because I'm thinking about when the Polynesian underwent its massive rehab. They completely redid the pool. They completely redid all these areas. And that pool construction was taking place right next to the concierge building.
Yeah.
And I remember being over there, staying in concierge, and at 7:30 in the morning, hearing the construction start. And that was just not okay. And of course, they did not alter the pricing.
That's crazy.
Of these rooms, one iota. It was kind of the same thing over Caribbean Beach. Caribbean Beach has been just one big, massive construction zone. And while there have done some specials and there's been some pricing adjustment, it hasn't been anything like what you would expect. I don't think they're going to adjust the prices at the Disneyland Hotel to compensate for the fact that construction's going on. But I'm really, really wondering. I think the only people not affected too much by this are going to be the people staying either off-site or at the Grand Californian. And I think this construction is going to end up being a boon for the off-site hotels. That's just my gut instinct.
It is one of those things too, where I do imagine like when this is done, fast forward a couple of years or however long it's going to take, and you'd be like, wow, that would really paid off, hopefully. But so
kind of what we said about Disney
hard. Springs. Yeah, it was a mess the whole time, and then now it looks great. So it's one of those when you have all that stuff just so compact to make it better, to make it more efficient or better, or open it up to more guests, you sometimes have to get in there and do that uncomfortable stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be like 3 years of construction because that new hotel's supposed to open 2021. So it's going to be a long time. And for $500 a night to stay at the Disneyland Hotel with that construction going on, it would be, I don't think I would want to pay for that at all.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what their schedule is going to be like. Are they just going to be working during the days to try and avoid keeping people up at night, or will they just kind of push through and just do their thing at all hours? It'll be interesting to see.
That's true.
But I would, if I were anybody that really wants to stay in concierge at Disneyland Hotel and have a nice view of the fireworks or something, I would do that sooner rather than later, because I think the vast majority of those rooms, if not all of them, are going to be covered by the new hotel. So
I'm curious what happened, because Grand Californian, some of their rooms overlook downtown Disney, and Naples, the Italian trattoria, they went through a massive renovation, and throughout all day you could just hear jackhammers and just like loud sounds of like breaking and stuff. And I wonder if they ever got compensated, because I feel like it would be that loud plus maybe like 5 times more.
Turn it up to 11.
Yeah, turn it up to 11, and I'm just imagining what it would sound like.
Let me ask. Let me ask Louella. What are your thoughts on the pending construction? How disruptive do you think this is going to be?
I really don't think that it's going to go through the night, because where they are doing a lot of the construction, across the street is housing.
Oh.
Anaheim is surrounding Disneyland, and so I'm pretty sure there's some ordinance where they can't be jackhammering in the middle of the night, because I know there's some people that live right there, and so I think it has to be done. I don't think the prices will go down, because there's only 3 hotels on property, and a lot of times people want to stay on property. So during the day, I think it's going to be a nightmare, but I think they'll be able to sleep during the night. It's just a matter of what time they'll start their construction. I was concerned about concierge because it overlooks the fireworks and all the booming activity going on in downtown Disney. So I don't think it would be going during that time, but I can't see them dropping the prices, because I think people will still pay to stay on property. They'll probably give some other really great perks to stay on property. Early entry is a big perk.
I'm wondering if it's not going to be a scenario where the squeaky wheel gets the grease. The people who complain the loudest are the ones that are going to get compensated. You know, I mean, Disney does a really good job of communicating to people when they book at a particular resort that there's construction going on and it may be disruptive. That's also kind of what they hide behind in saying, because they did this with Caribbean Beach.
Yeah, we
told
you.
you. We told you when you booked that this is how it was going to be. So I'm very curious to see how that goes. But we will keep giving you updates as more happens. But just wanted to get that out. All right, let's move on. And I'm going to talk about something that Tyler, Katrina, and I had the chance to experience a few weeks ago when I was out there. We did a VIP tour of Disneyland Park and California Adventure. Now, if you're not familiar with these, this is where you basically pay to have a guest services person, a VIP tour guide, one of the plaids, just for you and your group. So it's a private tour, and they more or less either get you into the fast pass line for whatever attraction you want to, or in many cases they backdoor you into the attraction. You are required to do a minimum of 6 hours, and the cheapest this will cost you is $400 an hour. That is during what they consider slow season, which I don't believe exists at Disneyland anymore, up to a high of $600 per hour, which is what this cost me. But I wanted to see what it was like. I have done it a few times here in Orlando, and so I knew, how we did it. So I wanted to see what it was like out there. So we ended up having this guide for 8 hours, and one of those hours was spent having lunch. So in the course of 7 hours, we did the following attractions: Soarin', Incredicoaster, Toy Story Mania, Radiator Springs Racers, Mike and Sully to the Rescue, Pinocchio, Star Tours, Space Mountain, Big Thunder Mountain, Haunted Mansion, Indiana Jones, Peter Pan, Alice in Wonderland, The Matterhorn, Snow White, Pirates of the Caribbean, and we also got, our guide wasn't with us, doesn't have to be with us for this, you get just put on the list because you took the tour, VIP seating for the fireworks, and also VIP seating for Fantasmic. So we did that. I'm running that list off, and we basically did that in the span of about 7 hours. Like I said, we spent about an hour for lunch. So it sounds like we would have been absolutely exhausted. But did you feel that way, guys? Did you feel like it was exhausting pace doing it like that?
No, I really liked it because it was really fun to talk to our plaid the whole time. Every time we were going in between to the rides, I would always just talk to him about, Disney facts or kind of cool news that he knows that he might not tell other guests. And so I thought it was just really fun. And then plus the whole experience, just being able to do fast passes the whole day. So I was like, hell yeah.
Yeah, I didn't find it exhausting at all. I actually found it like nice and refreshing because I think to me personally, one of the exhausting things one of the things that really takes it away from me is when I have to wait in line a lot of and that really just for whatever reason just standing there and it starts draining me after a while. So to me, it was really nice and refreshing having to just be like, okay, what ride do we want to do next, and just get right on it.
Yeah.
And for me, that particular day, I had very, very early that morning, I'd gotten news that there had been a death in my family. So I had been up since about 3 o'clock in the morning, and could not get back to sleep, as you can understand. So I was working on about 3 hours sleep when we met up with our guide, who was Brandon, who was absolutely fantastic. We met up with him about 10 o'clock. So I was already tired when it started. But it's a very different experience there than here. I think in some regards we got to do more here because the parks are so close together, and we're able to walk from, do what we want to do in California Adventure and then just walk across the Esplanade over into Disneyland Park. Whereas here, you're going to park hop, you got to get in a car, and they provide the car for you. Backstage here, you get in, there's water, there's snacks, and they take you to wherever, okay, we're going to go to Animal Kingdom now, and then you walk on, walk into Pandora and do the rides in Pandora, and all the e-ticket attractions. But it takes a little bit longer to do that here because of the driving that you have to do. So none of that was required here. So I think we were just able to do a lot. What I did notice, like out here when they do it, the cast members at the attraction know when they see these plaids, that they're coming in with a group, and that it's a VIP group, and get out of the way.
So no questions asked scenario.
Right. That was not the case on this tour. When we had to get backdoored, so for example, there's no what was it? Peter Pan does not have a fast pass line.
That's the big deal, that one.
Yeah, it does not have a fast pass line, so we had to go in through the exit. And I want to say we probably waited 20 minutes before
I feel like it was longer to get on Pinocchio than it was to get to Peter Pan. I feel like we waited maybe like 10 minutes to get on Peter Pan, but for Pinocchio, that took a very long time, and I have to say that person was not very nice.
That's right. That's what I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of Pinocchio, not Peter Pan.
It was not pleasant.
Yeah,
it
the cast member
clearly,
the cast member working the exit just didn't care, and I kind of noticed that.
And he was in fact yelling at us.
Well, what's that?
I said, in fact, he was yelling at us too. We were up against the wall as far as we could be, and he kept saying, "Get up against the wall, get up against the wall."
Yeah.
And we were like, I looked at him, I was like, I'm against the wall, man. What else do you want from me?
And there was a wheelchair behind us too. That was an empty wheelchair, so we were kind of like sitting on the wheelchair against the wall, and he kept telling us to like get back, and I'm like, this is as far as I can go.
Yeah.
So that was not the pleasant experience that we thought it would be, but that was just like one ride.
Our guide Brandon did tell us that was the longest he's ever had to wait for any of those Fantasyland dark rides, so he didn't know what was up either. But for whatever reason, it did take a while to get on Pinocchio.
I've had a situation where I've been given a certain type of fast pass into my Disneyland app because of whatever happened to me during the day. And sometimes when you get these, it doesn't include attractions that don't have fast passes, but then there's another level that does include fast passes. And the person who gave it to me specifically said to me, you can even go use this at Peter Pan's flight right now, which was a guest relations person. And they were like, you just open this app, show them the thing, and they go. And I went there, and they were like, the person was like, we don't have Fast Pass. And I was like, oh, well, on this list right here, it says that I can use it here. And they were like, well, we don't have anywhere to send you. And I was like, okay. And then the other cast member came over and was like, oh, no, they go like this and do this. So I don't know what it is about those Fantasyland attractions I'm surprised that happens with even a VIP tour guide over there, too. So they're very possessive about being like, you can't come in.
Yeah. Well, I think, part of it is that it's Southern California. And I want to choose my words carefully. I don't want to offend people, but it is the land of Hollywood. It is the land of stars, and everybody wants to be famous, and everybody thinks that they're famous. Not everybody, obviously, but I think even you guys will agree with me. There's that attitude. It does exist.
There can be, definitely,
and everybody's kind of looking for that VIP. So I think they probably have to say no an awful lot, and they probably have to establish firmer boundaries than maybe we do out here. Not that we don't get entitled people out here. I just think it's maybe a different form of entitlement.
The guest recovery.
And again, I'm not trying to offend any. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to offend anybody. I'm not saying all Southern Californians are like this, because they're not. But I just think that there's probably a prevalence of that maybe at Disneyland than versus here in Walt Disney World.
Well, I do have to say that with how many annual pass holders we have and stuff, there are a lot of times where people are just like, no, this is my park. Like, this is my place. And while it's nice to have some sort of that, it goes too far for a lot of people, and they think like, no, I deserve this because I've been coming here since I was 2. Like, no, you don't deserve it, and people don't. It takes a while for some people to realize that.
Is it the capacity too? Because the Fantasyland rides are like smaller capacity, so if they keep stopping it, can it break down?
Well, I mean, that's part of it, but they need to keep on these rides moving, because otherwise they need to shut them down and restart them. But like rides like Peter Pan, those seat 2 people at a time usually, and that is a very slow ride to load, and that's why it always has such a long line. So I could see some of the cast members being a little bit indignant about people trying to get on because it's going to slow down their ride, and when their ride stops, they get yelled at by other guests. So I get it to a certain extent, but yeah.
So
I also think I also think with your VIP tour, it's the same entrance as the disability line, and in the Fantasyland area, it's so congested, and I'm sure you saw Peter Pan, just the disability alone is long, and then the VIP is coming in, and there's all you have to do is just wait, and so cast members just kind of like, okay, you have to wait your turn.
And I was fine with that, honestly, and we with certain attractions, the ones that did not have fast pass lines, we were using the exit, which is where they put people with disabilities to get on the attractions, and absolutely they go first. I'm sorry, they go first. So that was not that. I wasn't expecting that we should be put in front of those people at all.
Oh, absolutely. I think sometimes the entitlement can get to some of the cast members. I've seen it with the disability pass. I've seen it with annual pass holders. I feel bad for some of them, and then after a while they're just like, stand aside.
Yeah.
What confused me was the number of cast members that didn't seem to have any idea what Brandon was doing. Like I said, out here they see, my guy is Frank. Okay, Frank's the guy who's done my tours out here. They see Frank coming. They know who Frank is. They know what Frank is doing. And it's not that the C's part and like they push people out of the way or anything like that. Here you can only do attractions that have fast pass. They will not backdoor you. The only time you get backdoored into an attraction here is if you are an A-list celebrity and it is a safety issue that they cannot walk you through the park. And they have to take you backstage and they have to get you in that way because that's what they need to do. But when a celebrity, a person of note, comes to Disneyland or Walt Disney World and they are getting taken onto attractions, They are doing the exact same thing that we did. They are paying the same money. They have to pay for it. Disneyland does not give it to them. They have to pay the hourly rate for the cast member, the same way we did, except, again, if it's Paul McCartney, he's getting backdoored. They have to do things a certain way in order to not completely melt down the operation because of the attention that person gets, and it's a safety issue. It's a safety issue for the celebrity in question. So, and I completely get that. So, what Disneyland does better, in my opinion, is that they will backdoor you on to certain attractions where we do not do that here. At the time, and I think this was just affected by the fact that I was so tired, I felt like it was, because anytime I've ever done it out here, it was $400 an hour, and at the time I didn't feel like it was worth $600 an hour. Looking back on it now that I've slept, I don't know, I disagree with that. I think it was worth it. If you only had one day, and again, I realize a lot of people can't afford to do that. But if you can, and you have one day and you want to make sure you get to see as much as you can, this really is a pretty good way to do it. But let me ask you three, Tyler, Katrina, and Luella, looking at, what did I say, 16 attractions in the course of 7 hours, not including seating for the fireworks, which was fantastic. We were right in front of the castle. And seating for Fantasmic, which was not quite as good, but they were actual seats, not sitting on the ground. Not including that, do you feel that with the way Max Pass works, if you're smart about how you use it, and you're, a little lucky, do you think you can kind of cover the same ground in the course of maybe 7 or 10 hours maybe with Max Pass as we did in 7 hours with this?
If you came at park opening and you waited in that line like early in the morning, because we started our VIP tour at 10 a.m., which is perfectly fine with me. But getting there at like 8, like even at 7 a.m. to try to get to park opening by 8, you could probably get the majority of the rides done in 7 hours. But it was just like it would be a headache, because I would have to keep setting my timer on my phone, making sure that all of the fast passes that we needed are like in line, and just setting my phone to get a new fast pass.
Right. My point being, though, is that headache worth the difference between $10 a day per person and $600 an hour?
I feel like, because you can bring up to 10 people for the VIP tour, and if you had 10 friends that all wanted to chip in the $600, I would say it would be worth it. If you wanted to have like one day of just all park fun, seeing the fireworks, seeing Fantasmic, I think it would be worth it.
And I personally don't think you can do all that with Max Pass, especially considering that a lot of the rides we did don't even have any Fast Pass to begin with. Or not a lot, but a good amount of them. But even when you have Max Pass, you still are at the whim of all the times, and there's going to be certain rides like Incredicoaster that are really popular right now that thing is going to be up at 8 p.m. by the time you want to do your Max Pass. And I just think that you could get away with doing rides back to back, for the first half of the day, but when the first half of the day is over, that's when you're going to start to realize like, oh, okay, we can't do these rides as fast as we were in the beginning of the day. I mean, it's a huge jump money-wise to do the tour, obviously. I think it's something very special. I think that if you are going to do this, you got to remember that it's like a very special thing, and it's something that, once in a lifetime almost, because it is very expensive, but I think it's like I am considering wanting to do it again like sometime in the future. So and I think your guide is a huge thing too, because it's like a whole nother person that you can talk to and get little tidbits from, and like
did get a lot of information from Brandon as we walked around, telling us just different things that I didn't even know. So
yeah, he told us interesting things about. He used to work on all these different rides, because when you're in guest services, you need to actually transfer to guest services. You can't just start in guest services. So he used to work on all these different attractions, and it was really interesting talking to him about all the little secrets and stuff. He told us things about Pirates of the Caribbean that I actually always wondered about, and so for me, the guide was a huge thing too. I think that it's definitely worth it if you remember that this is a very special occasion.
Luella, you weren't with us on this tour, unfortunately, but what do you think? Do you think that, in what we're describing about what we experienced on this VIP tour, do you think it's worth $600 an hour, minimum of 6 hours?
I think that the VIP tour is worth it for all the rides and the history. I would love to walk around with someone that tells me all the little tidbits. But I think that Max Pass is very efficient if you know how to use it. If you want to ride all the Fantasyland rides, though, you got to hit that spot first thing in the morning, because I don't think the Max Pass will do any benefit for you. Those lines are not the shortest lines, so you will lose a lot of time even if you have the Max Pass. But the beauty of the Max Pass is you get your Fast Pass for one ride, and then you wait in line for the ride that doesn't have a Fast Pass. But I also believe that the VIP tour works with a certain group of people that can appreciate it. With my kids, I don't think it would be beneficial, because yes, I can get to some of the rides, but we would probably spend a lot of time in a certain area and not take advantage of the big rides. So there really is a certain type of party that can take full advantage of a VIP tour. I took a VIP tour when I went to Hong Kong Disneyland, and hands down that was the best money I spent, because for one thing, I couldn't speak the language and I learned a lot of tidbits. So for the tidbits alone, I think that's worth it.
What do you think? You think they're
No, I don't think this sounds worth it at all to me. I don't mean to, I'm not trying to be rude, and you guys all make valid points and everything like that. And if I were somebody that had an income similar to your own, it would be worth it to me, I think. But I'm trying to think about it from my perspective. Like, it's not the Disneyland experience I want either, though. That's the thing. It does sound awesome. It does sound really cool. And if you ask me someday, do you want to go try this out? I 100%. I would be into that. And I do agree with Tyra's mentality about you have to treat it really special, but I just think it doesn't include entrance into the park. So that's an added on ticket that you have to, so that's another $150 ticket, on a non-peak day for a park-to-park ticket. And then I'm assuming he didn't pay for your lunch, right?
No, you pay for your own lunch.
So you're adding up all these other things as well. So I'm doing it out. Okay, so let's say you do have the 10 people. You do the minimum of the 6 hours. That's $3,600 plus the $150 for tickets. So that's probably about $400, or that's probably $500 a person for the 10 people. But then you have a group of 10 people. So if you had difficulty with your guest relations persons in Fantasyland with only the 5 of you, double that, you're not going to be able to get on the rides as efficiently. People aren't going to be able to make decisions as efficiently.
Well, we also had 2 people in scooters on this trip. So
okay,
I had some of my other friends with me.
Oh, okay, cool.
So we had 2 people in scooters on this trip, and I'll tell you what, they were over the moon being able to get around like this.
Yeah.
And I know they loved it. So
well, that's a good thing to consider though too. You bring up a valid point with people in scooters, or you talked about it with a celebrity where it's a thing for them. But maybe you're somebody that is in a higher income bracket, and maybe there is some sort of you're agoraphobic or something like that. This might help you out too, help you getting through the crowds and stuff like that. But for somebody like me, or somebody. There's nobody in my life that I think that I would say oh, this sounds great. Craig and I once broke down the VIP experience you took me on for the Universal Park in Hollywood, and I think that was every penny of that was worth it. And I loved that experience, and it's something I'll never forget. And I don't think I wouldn't dislike the experience.
Remind me, it's a good point. What does the VIP tour in Universal go for?
300, I think.
It's a little over 300 now.
Is it really? I thought it was more than that.
Yeah. And
lunch is included.
Yeah, lunch is included in that one as well, and it's like the best lunch you can have in the park.
yeah.
It was a really good lunch, but they also take you onto the actual Universal Studios backlot.
Yeah, and we got to get out and walk on that set, remember? That was really cool.
Colony. We went to go see the set where Colony was filmed.
Yeah.
And then you get, for the rest of the day, whether you're with the guide or not, you have your
Like
front of the
fast pass
line,
lanyard,
your
yeah.
front of the line pass.
Yeah, front of the line. sorry.
So yeah, that's a good point by contrast, but it's Universal versus
I know,
Disneyland.
and that is the thing too. Different experiences, you know what I mean? Craig always says it, different strokes for different folks. My least favorite expression he ever says. And
especially after that Toy Story video, Midway Mania video that he put up. That puts that just in a whole nother light. But all right, so there you have it. That is our take on the VIP tour that we took at Disneyland, and that will do it for our show for this week. We hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back with you again next time with another edition of the DIS Unplugged. Have a great week, everybody.